Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Xiaolin Perspectives. And today we're going to be discussing episode 33 of Xiaolin Showdown, the Demon Seed. And in this episode, the Xiaolin monks are given a brand new duty at the temple. In this case, they are charged with guarding a seed called the Xiaolin Seed. This ancient sealed evil in a can, basically, in the form of a little tiny seed that, if it's ever planted, will unleash hell on Earth. And apparently 1500 years ago, this seed was planted and nearly destroyed the world. So it's basically a big priority that the Xiaolin monks not let this seed fall into the wrong hands. So in other words, keep it away from sun, dirt, and water, and they'll be fine. Of course, the Xiaolin monks think that this whole ideal is kind of dumb because it looks a little tiny seed, so they don't really give a shit about it. But enough about the good guys. Let's cut over to Jack Spicer, as we see that there's a little bit of fallout from Wuya ditching Jack during the Year of the Green Monkey episode, as apparently Jack is forlorn and forsaken and sad that Wuya's not around, even though he tries to deny it, which I find a little weird considering the last time Wuya ditched him, or at least during the Mala Mala Jong incident, he didn't really seem to be that torn up about it. But whatever, he at least found a replacement for her because he built a new robot called the Detectobot. She's basically just Wuya 2, as the Detectobot has Wuya's proportions from when she's in her physical form. She has Wuya's voice from when she is in her physical form as well, except instead of having Wuya's face from when she's human or humanoid, she has Wuya's mask. However, there is one difference between the Detectobot and Wuya, besides the fact that one's organic and one's robotic. The Detectobot apparently is very motherly towards Jack. Kid has issues. But either way, shortly after Jack creates the Detectobot, he ends up getting an unexpected visitor in the form of Vlad, from the Crystal Glasses episode. I didn't like that one either. Either way, Vlad is here because he heard that Wuya ditched Jack. Why? He heard it on the internet. Yeah, apparently there are message forums where all the villains of Xiaolin Showdown all just hang out and message each other. It's kind of amazing. We see the homepage for it. Catnape's there. Panda Bubba's there. The fucking Cyclops is there. Even Le Mime from episode 2 is there. And he literally just types in ellipses. It's amazing. I love it. It's stupid. It's stupid, but I love it. And Panda Bubba asks if everyone knows which Shengang Wu Jack and the Xiaolin monks have because he has a hard time keeping track. I second you there, Panda Bubba. Either way, Vlad's heard about it, and while he is mocking Jack about what happened, even saying that now there's a new term for similar situations to Jack, where it's called getting jacked, he instead wants to come to Jack Spicer because he wants to propose a potential partnership. In this case, he coincidentally thinks that it's time that they go after the Demon Seed, as apparently the forces of evil are aware what the Demon Seed or what the Xiaolin Seed is, as apparently Jack even read about it once in an evil magazine, and Vlad's heard rumors that the Xiaolin monks are guarding it, and that if they can get it, they can unleash its power and unrule the world, and maybe even get their own reality TV show. Okay, lofty ambitions, I guess. But Jack goes for it anyway, and so he and Vlad basically take Jack's drill vehicle and go and try and get the Demon Seed. And guess what? They actually managed to get it because the Xiaolin monks are stupid. Because despite the fact that they were told by Master Feng to keep the Xiaolin Seed away from anything that could result in it growing, they bring the box containing it to a lakeside beach, where there's plenty of water, dirt, and sunlight. You're just asking for this thing to get planted. But sure enough, Jack and Vlad managed to steal the Demon Seed, or Xiaolin Seed, I'm interchanging them, I'm sorry. And as a result, they managed to get away, also taking away the Xiaolin monks' hot dogs as a result, because Clay put them on top of the box and it was stolen. Either way, they have the seed, but upon Vlad and Jack returning back to Jack's house, they basically think the same thing the Xiaolin monks did. This thing's supposed to be sealed evil in a can. It looks stupid. As such, Jack just kind of flicks it away and forgets about it. And while he and Vlad go back to Jack's house, just kind of forlorn that they basically just did all that for nothing, well, the seed manages to land near a fountain, and sure enough, a little bit of water from the fountain ends up splashing onto the seed while it lands in the dirt, half in the sunlight. And sure enough conditions are met for this seed to basically grow. And grow it does, as this thing just basically explodes from where it was planted, and it actually ensnares the entirety of Jack's house in vines, and before the main, bud of the plant ends up appearing right next to Jack, and it's alive, and it's French for some reason. The Xiaolin plant is now planted, and it is more than happy to be a part of the world, and even just goes up to Jack and pulls him in for a hug, calling him master, as he's happy that Jack brought him into the world. And Jack, while a little surprised by seeing the Xiaolin plant, takes to it rather well, even giving it the little nickname of Gigi, which I'm going to try and call it for the rest of this vlog. As such, Jack is happy to have his new evil plant sidekick on standby, and so he orders Gigi to go to the Xiaolin temple and steal their Shengong Wu, something that Gigi is more than happy to do. As such, back at the Xiaolin temple, as Raimundo is getting chastised because it was his idea to bring the Xiaolin seed to the beach, well, Gigi ends up attacking as his vines ensnare the temple vault and begin trying to break in. And while the Xiaolin monks do their best to try and get his vines off of the vault, well, all of it ends in failure, and Gigi even manages to use some of their attacks to literally break the door of the vault down and just grab any Shengong Wu. And it's here where I should probably bring up a minor rumination. I mentioned back a few episodes back that after that Jack, I think, had gotten his hands on the Sphere of Yun. Well, apparently he didn't. Apparently that was one of the Shengong Wu that Clay's sister Jessie managed to nab from Jack and return to the Xiaolin monks because we see it among the Shengong Wu that Gigi is taking. So if Jack didn't have it before, he has it now. Either way, just minor rumination. As such, the monks, of course, jump into action to try and stop Gigi from getting away with the Shengong Wu. But it turns out Gigi has another little trick up his sleeve as he begins sprouting little buds and flowers along his vines so the Xiaolin monks climb them, and the flowers end up spraying most of the monks, in this case Clay, Kimiko, Master Feng, and Dojo, and while at first it just seems to disorient them enough till they fall on the ground, it turns out that the spray has another side effect. It turns anyone who's exposed to it into a plant, as everyone that was sprayed by it is just frozen where they're standing and becomes various trees and plants and so forth, while Gigi just runs away with all the Shengong Wu, leaving Omi and Raimundo as the last monks standing. As such, Gigi returns to Jack's house with the spoils, and of course Jack's happy that Gigi did all this, but it turns out that while Gigi was away, he kind of began to grow a little, quite literally in this case, and he claims that he's now wiser, and that it's time that he branch out, no pun intended, and and basically become his own force, saying that he's basically moving on and moving up. He's taken over this racket, and while he admits that he's learned a lot from Jack, not so much from Vlad, at this point Jack can now call him master, and while Jack challenges him, well, Gigi's response is to throw Jack and Vlad into pots and then turn them into plants too. So they pretty much are screwed, and they have to listen to the evil plant, to the giant plant, who basically has ambitions to, as you guessed, take over the world. However, hope is not lost, for you see, while the Xiaolin plant is going to run amok, there is a way to take it down in the form of a Shengong Wu, something called the Moonstone Locust. This, I guess, cyclical stone that has the power to unleash a horde of stone locusts on anything and anyone that's targeted by it. So it's basically the Juju fly trap, except instead of unleashing a swarm of flies on someone, it's stone locusts. Either way, it seems like it probably would work better since locusts eat everything, and they're made of stone. You can't really hurt stones. Either way, if the Moonstone Locust can reveal itself, the Xiaolin monks can use its power to get rid of Gigi. And sure enough, Dojo, despite being a plant, still reacts when the Shengong Wu reveals itself, so now they know where it is. Unfortunately, though, the bad guys are also made aware of it because the Detectobot also can sense Shengong Wu just as well as Wuya could. My guess is that Jack put his Shengong Wu detector in this thing, since I don't think that ever got destroyed. I'm just kind of wondering why he doesn't have it around. Point is, the Detectobot says that the Moonstone Locust is out there, and of course Gigi knows is the one thing that can stop him. So he orders Jack and Vlad to take him to the Moonstone Locust, even though the Detectobot is the one that should be able to sense it. Although when Jack and Vlad fold like cards to Gigi's demands, the Detectobot ends up looking down on Jack just as much as the real Wuya would. So Yeah, good on you, Jack. Even fake Wuya thinks you're an idiot. Either way, the good guys and the bad guys make a mad dash to where the Moonstone Locust is. As Raimundo and Omi are able to use the Crouching Cougar to basically just run to a swamp, to a forest or swamp. I don't know. It's one of the two. It's got large trees, but almost ankle deep water, so it could be a swamp. I don't know. Point is that either way, they run there. That's where the Moonstone Locust is. But Gigi ends up heading them off, and while Raimundo and Omi put up a good fight, unfortunately, Omi ends up getting sprayed by more of Gigi's flowers and turns into a plant himself, leaving Raimundo as the last man standing. Thankfully, though, he is able to reach the Moonstone Locust, and, well, he and Gigi make a grab for it, and so Raimundo challenges Gigi to a Xiaolin showdown, with him wagering the Falcon's Eye against Gigi's Thorn of Thunderbolt. And Gigi accepts the showdown, but he also adds a bit more spice to it as he calls for Shenyi Bu Dare, with him wagering the Reversing Mirror and against Raimundo's Gills of Hamachi, which Raimundo accepts that as well. And as such, the game basically just find the Wu. The Moonstone Locust is going to be hidden in the area, and whoever can find it and whoever can claim it first will be the winner. As such, Xiaolin showdown time as the trees in the area grow to large degrees. It basically just becomes a giant jungle gym of literal trees and so forth. And so Raimundo and Gigi get to the fighting, and again, still really kick ass. Although earlier in the episode, Vlad said that apparently the Xiaolin plant was supposed to be more powerful than any Shengang Wu, and here we see that same plant using the Thorn of Thunderbolt. I don't know. I think he might have more control over the environment, but whatever. Either way, Raimundo is able to find the Moonstone Locust with a Falcon's Eye. Falcon's Eye as it's under the water, but before he can make a grab for it, Gigi ends up trying to zap him and catch him in vines, but thankfully, thanks to the Gills of Hamachi, Raimundo's able to dive under the water to try and get the Moonstone Locust. Unfortunately, thanks to the Reversing Mirror, Gigi is able to make him almost drown, though thankfully he's able to dislodge the Locust enough that it actually surfaces, and as Raimundo's pulled out of the water, enough of centrifugal force is applied to the Moonstone Locust that it gets thrown in the air and lands on a branch. So all that matters is someone who can get it first. However, while Gigi thinks that he's going to net a win as he gets the Thorn of Thunderbolt ready to zap Raimundo, when Raimundo got thrown out of the water, he managed to knock the Reversing Mirror out of Gigi's hands, and so just as Gigi tries to zap at Raimundo, he manages to grab the Reversing Mirror, and he reflects the lightning bolt right at Gigi, knocking him aside and incapacitating him long enough for Raimundo to just smack the tree that the Moonstone Locust landed on and lay claim to it, thus winning the showdown and all the Shengang Wu. As such, everyone's congratulating Raimundo for a job well done, but Gigi's a sore loser. As such, he assumes a more monstrous plant form, intent on just attacking Raimundo before he can even use the Shengang Wu. But he's too little too late, as Raimundo points the Moonstone Locust at him and unleashes a horde of stone locusts, which just eat Gigi alive until he's nothing more than a seed. As such, with the Xiaolin plant now reduced back to a seed, everything that it's built has been undone, and everyone that got turned into a plant is back to normal. And so, as such, Jack and Vlad basically make a run for it, with both of them blaming each other for their failure, and while the Xiaolin monks take their Shengang Wu and the seed back to the temple, locking it back in the box. And when they return, Raimundo promises that he'll take his job more seriously in the future, he'll practice discipline and all that crap, before he says, well, why don't we play a game of soccer? And while he tries to go and kick a soccer ball, well, he realizes too little too late that he's about to kick the box containing the demon seed, and, well, Omi gets in the way to try and stop him from doing it, so it's clear that he ends up kicking Omi's ass, literally. So, yeah. So that was the demon seed! Okay, objectively, this episode's kind of stupid. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. The plot kind of relies on the characters being idiots. It's not as high stakes as it should be. Despite the Xiaolin seed being built up as this big monstrous threat, it basically just comes down to your average villain of the week, and despite the conflict being supposedly this serious, it's not treated as it feels like it should. It's basically just treated like your standard everyday adventure. And even the stuff with Jack and lamenting with the loss of Wuya is kind of dumb and basically just there to be more comic relief. But that doesn't mean this episode isn't entertaining. Far from it. In fact, I can genuinely say I enjoyed this episode. Objectively, it's a dumb episode, but it's still enjoyable. For me, what makes it work is that they don't take itself too seriously. It's like yeah, the episode itself is dumb, but unlike other previous episodes that I didn't care for, this episode feels like it's fully aware that what it's doing is kind of dumb. That what it's that everything that happens in the episode is a result of the characters being idiots. And it just kind of runs with it. It does not take from the very first scene. It just feels like this episode is just trying to just have a breather, which makes sense considering what happened in the last episode and what we're going to be seeing later on in the season. It basically just feels like that this is Xiaolin Showdown, pretty much just saying we know there's a bunch of serious shit going on, so let's just have a breather with some fun stupidity. You enjoyed that? Good. Now let's get back to the serious. That's what this episode basically is. It's just Xiaolin Showdown taking a breather and just trying to have fun with itself. And you know what? I think it succeeds. To kind of give an example, there's no real moral in this episode. The most we get from the moral is be more disciplined and take your jobs more seriously, but again, it feels like that's a moral that the Xiaolin monks should probably have learned this point, and I think they've had episodes where they have had to deal with the consequences of themselves being just kind of idiots. But what makes the episode, I think, enjoyable is the fact that they have fun with it. It's cool. The fact that the Xiaolin monks take the Xiaolin Seed to a lakeside beach, which contains every single thing that the Xiaolin Seed would need to sprout. It's clear that it's like they're just begging for people to steal this thing. And likewise with the villains, well, I do think it's a little dumb that Jack would lament the loss of Wuya, even though the last time she officially ditched him with Mala Mala Zhang, and I do mean like the last time that they actually parted ways officially. I'm not counting the stuff with Raksha At the very least, it does feel like they act. What makes it fun is that Vlad comes in and just kind of brings in the comedy. He basically he makes fun of Jack, but he sees this as a golden opportunity for them to make a name for themselves. His big plan is to take over the world, but he thinks that he and Jack should have a reality show if they should achieve victory. It's just kind of weird. The fact that he pulls up the internet and we see that all the bad guys are on a message board. I kind of love it. I love that they all have their own I love that they all have their own ways of typing. Again, I love that Panda Bubba asks who has what Shengang Wu, because at this point in the series it's becoming confusing. I think that's fun. And then let's talk about GG. Yeah, GG. Yeah, the episode. Yeah, one episode way the episode is kind of dumb is that GG is billed as this big grand threat that could basically end the world if he was allowed to. But he's a fun villain. Like, the guy, like, he's French. Like, for some reason, he's French. He just has fun with himself. He just kind of has fun. He clearly is enjoying himself. And he says he learned a lot from Jack. Well, you can kind of see it in his mannerisms. He's just enjoyable. He's having fun. He loves the minutia of being evil and just being an absolute dipshit. Even when he stabs Jack in the back and says, "I'm your master now," he still compliments him. He still gives him favoritism by saying, "I learned a lot from you, Jack. Not so much." I love that. It's just great. It's like, yeah, I'm stabbing you in the back, but you were a good dad. I don't know. I just find that funny. I just find that really funny. The fact that the Xiaolin monks are turned into plants, and Master Funk's only bit of advice is that they just need to wait, to be patient and wait, and otherwise make sure they're all properly cared for since they're plants. I love that. It's fun. Again, I like that. It's enjoyable. And every scene, and like I said, going back to GG as a fun villain, every scene with him is just a blast. Despite how powerful he is, he just basically feels like I said, he does feel like your standard villain of the week. But in this case, that's a good thing. He's, like I said, he's over the top, he's weird, he's fun, and he's basically not, and he doesn't feel like a grand schemer. He just kind of feels like a pest with a lot more power than he should. And it honestly just kind of makes him enjoyable to watch as a result. So I can give you a compliment for that. And in a way, you can argue that the stupidity of the episode is what helps make it work. And the episode can only work because the characters would be such idiots, and the episode is fully aware of it, so they're just saying, you know what? We know that this is dumb, so let's just go the full 9 yards. I like that. It's good. I like that. It's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. I love that Jack has a little vanity project by creating the Detectobot, which again, I'm guessing that part of the reason he created part of how he created it was he integrated the Shengang Wu detector into it so that it could more properly be able to act as a replacement Wuya. Though to my knowledge, I don't think the Detectobot appears in any other episode besides this one, so what can you do? But I do kind of like that, and I do love that basically that Jack programmed this thing to basically be a motherly figure, and yet it still ends up turning on him when it thinks he's pathetic when he's threatened by Gigi, and of course the Xiaolin Showdown, still a lot of fun. I dug it, and it was still fun seeing Gigi act as a force. I love that when he and Raimundo grabbed the Moonstone Locust, the first thing he did was no fair. A kid, he's like a child, and I love him for that. When it comes really down to it, I know I'm not really getting into as deep with the episode, but I don't really think the episode needs it, because what you see with this episode is what you get. It's a silly, stupid episode that only really occurs because everyone's being kind of dumb, but the episode knows it. It knows what it's trying to do, it embraces that stupidity, and just kind of runs with it, and I think it works as a result. In other words, is it a good episode? No. Is it an enjoyable episode, though? Hell yes. I think I can definitely have a good time with this. When I was going to rewatch it for these vlogs, I fully expected to just not like it, because I remember the last time I watched it, I thought, oh, this episode's kind of dumb. But rewatching it now, I was surprised at how many times I had a smile on my face while watching it. The episode was stupid, but it was enjoyably stupid, and I cannot fault it for that. So for that, I give the Demon Seed 2 thumbs up. It's dumb, it's stupid, but it's the fun kind of stupid, and I cannot recommend it enough. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and tune in next week as we get back to the more serious stuff and we see more of Chase Young's plan in action. So till then, I hope you have a good Friday and take care.